We call it the Aware Shelter, but it's more than that.
AWARE is an acronym for Abused Women's Assistance and Resources. It's the house where we shelter women and children, and it's more. We became an organization in 1969, but didn't have a shelter until 1978. Until then, there was no safe place for abused women.
1978. We had a nice little home on a nice quiet street with a dishwasher. But
1978, John Paul II becomes Pope. In Guyana, followers of religious cult leader Jim Jones commit mass suicide. President Carter announces the Camp David Accord for peace in the Middle East. Dallas is a popular TV show. Gas is 63 cents per gallon. The first test tube baby, Louise Brown, is born.
what happened to us then was the worst part of my life.
There hadn't been much focus on domestic violence. There hadn't been much help for women. It was a subject that was rarely talked about and even more rarely supported. I am the people, the women and the men who saw the need, who made it happen, who opened the door. This is our story in our words.
I am the women who waited at the hospital, who had nowhere to go, who come to the door and it is opened. This is our story in our words. I thought it was just my problem.
It wasn't a personal problem. It was a community problem. In 1976, I had just started to work at the Legal Services Office. Wanda Getz Beiswinger and Betty Johansson worked for the Department of Social Services. We continued to run into the same issues day after day without any resolution. I was working with custody cases, divorce cases, abusive relationships. They were seeing them as protective service workers, women who would come for assistance, and I was seeing them as women who needed legal representation and couldn't afford it. We had a number of clients in common.
I first heard about Aware, actually, it was at the hospital. I was in a marriage and was mentally abused, and it was okay for me to be. I could take that. But I had a son who was 7, a daughter who was 4, and a baby boy. 1. The children's father, my husband, molested my daughter. When I found out, I packed up a couple of garbage bags with their clothes, called a cab, and went to the hospital. I had a little baby in my arms, and my kids were on me. They were scared too. I was holding myself for their sake, but I had anger and shock. At the hospital, Wanda Getz was like an angel in disguise. She talked to me, and I just felt peace. Even though I didn't know where I was going, I had nowhere to go.